Hey guys, I'm Jay Randall, and welcome back to my channel where I discuss wisdom for the modern man. Today, guys, I got another video to react to. This one is brought to us by the Whatever Podcast. Now, the reason why I wanted to react to this particular video is because there has been a very interesting topic that has been brought about on the last couple of episodes on the Whatever Podcast. And the topic is simply this: who should take the bullet in a life or death scenario between a man and a woman in a relationship? Okay. In other words, should men sacrifice their lives for their woman? Or how I would like to frame it in this particular video, are modern women worth dying for? Now, I think this topic is very interesting, especially in the way society is progressing when it comes to men and women in relationships, and which roles are they to follow? Should they adhere to their traditional values, or are we changing the rules? And are we able to pick and choose which ones we follow and don't follow? I think this is a very interesting topic. And so without further ado, let's get right into it.
Well, because we brought this question up recently, and it will kind of somewhat segue into the main topic of the show, the man versus bear thing. But, and I've stated this in 2 other podcasts so far, and it's honestly quite an interesting conversation that we always have on this. But the frequent comments that I get on this is, well, you're less masculine because of it. You're not a real man because of it. You're going to have a hard time finding a woman because of it. Women shouldn't date you because of that. So women seem very upset by this idea of men not falling into this disposable role of they ought to sacrifice their life for a woman. But so ultimately, at the end of the day, what would you want?
Me?
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, sure, it would be nice if I like the idea of a man I'm with caring enough to want to protect me like that. But like I said, I don't think if a man, like if for whatever reason that conversation somehow got brought up, I wouldn't say that, yeah, he's low value or not a real man or anything of that nature just because he wouldn't want to take a bullet.
Okay, here's the scenario. Let me change this up a little bit. You've been dating a guy for 2 years.
Just Gerald donated $200. For the panel, what about you, specifically, is worth dying for?
Okay, we'll go around on that in just a second here. But so the question is, you've been dating a guy for 2 years. This conversation comes up because you watch the Whatever Podcast and you're like, that host is a pussy.
I wouldn't say that.
And then you're like, what would you do for me, babe? Would you take a bullet for me? And he's like, nah. He doesn't say like whatever. He says it in the most diplomatic way possible. He just says, I love you, babe, but no, I wouldn't do it. Would you break up with him?
No.
Is it the end of the relationship?
No.
End of the relationship? Causes serious issues in the relationship?
No. No, I don't think it would end the relationship.
No. No.
If that's the case, if the guy really says that, there's probably other things going on in that relationship that
Billy
he's
donated
falling short at.
$200. The delusion being in the
Okay, I want to pause it there. First of all, when Brian asked that question, would that be a deal breaker? Don't let them fool you guys. Women are going to say the things that are politically correct because they don't want to look like terrible people. Guys, women are absolutely going to have a serious issue if the man is not willing to lay down their life for them. And you're going to see them backtrack on this answer because you just saw all those ladies up to the one in the middle in the white say no. I also want to touch on what the lady in the middle just said. She said, if he's not willing to do that, then he's probably failing in other aspects of the relationship as well, or falling short on other things as well. I would argue that if a man isn't willing to do that for a woman, then she's falling short on something in the relationship. If he doesn't feel as though she's worthy of the ultimate sacrifice, then I would say she's falling short. He doesn't see enough value in her. That's not, I don't think, a him problem. That's a you problem as a female. But I'll just say that on that particular topic. But let's keep going.
situation none of you would. Expecting the man to do it isn't realistic. Only time a man would dive in front of a bullet and die would be for his children.
Yeah, that's one scenario where I'd be more inclined to do it, would be for the kids, but not for the lady friend. Is what it is. Going back to Gerald, he asks, for the panel, what about you specifically is worth dying for? You can give short answers if you'd like. We'll start with you. Go ahead.
My faith.
Wait,
Your what?
your faith in your husband?
My faith in God. I would die
No.
for my
Why
faith.
would
No, I
that?
would
No,
say
no, no, no.
else.
The
Why-
question isn't what you would die for. The question is, what about you makes it worth someone else dying on your behalf? That's the
I
question.
don't think there's
She just
a good
answered that.
answer.
No, I don't know, to be
Okay.
honest.
What about you?
I don't think that there's anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I think to like a
Specifically.
random stranger, nothing, but to somebody that I had like a very close, personal, intimate relationship, I'm sure they could find many reasons, many things they like about me.
I agree with that. I think if I'm the love of someone's life and they were willing to make that sacrifice, then it would be important to them and they would see things.
Well, what are the what are the specifics though? What would you say the specifics are that would make you a person who's worth dying for?
I'm not specifically saying that I am, but I also think that I'm awesome, and whoever ends up with me should probably think that too.
Sorry. I had to do that. All right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think
All right, let me just say, we just heard the answers from this female right here who just spoke, and this squeaky voiced one over here in the light blue who just spoke. And I just want to point out, because I don't think it's been touched on yet, that those two are sex workers, okay? Those two are sex workers. So I just wanted to point out that despite them not being traditional in any way, shape, or form, they still expect a man to perform his traditional role. And this is just something that I've noticed with women in general, especially modern women, is that it doesn't matter if it's 1920 or 2024. The man's traditional role to protect and provide is just static. It's always the case, no matter what year we're in. However, when it comes to women and their role and their feminine role and responsibilities and duties, it's flexible. You'll hear women say that they love to throw out the year and say, it's 2024. I don't think women should have to adhere to such traditional standards. They shouldn't have to adhere to such traditional, strict gender roles. But as untraditional as they are, they still expect a man to make the ultimate sacrifice, the ultimate showcase of chivalry on their behalf. And I find that very interesting. But let's keep going.
what the problem, or one of the problems with society is that I think, and tell me like why this is wrong if it's wrong, but I really think that can you not? It just distracts me more. I think that it's because I'm a woman. So a man should be Yeah, that's my answer.
Sorry.
Actually, I'm happy to go down this line
Thank
with
you.
Grid 1
help me
Motorsports donated
understand it.
$200. Of course these girls expect a man to take a bullet for them, so
can
they
leave
can
it up.
step over his corpse and move on to the next swinging deck. Do not expect a man to be a bullet magnet when you are a DJ.
I wouldn't mind going down this line with you real quick because I kind of enjoy where it's going. So you're talking about the ontology or the being. You're saying that by nature of being a woman, there's possibly some kind of entitlement in society for that, you think?
I think that there is an aspect in society where women should be protected. So if it means entitlement, which actually I think it probably would actually be, I don't like the word entitlement, but
It is
I don't
entitlement.
know what other word to choose.
Well, let's go with entitlement. I think that's a good word, and I think that kind of encapsulates.
And the reason why women were able to have that entitlement and it not be deemed as, ridiculous is because of the way society was structured. Okay? Men were actually respected, men were appreciated in society, and women looked up to men as leaders. Okay? Therefore, women played their role, men played their role in the traditional family structure, the religious structure. That is no longer the case. Okay? And that is why it sounds ridiculous for them to still have that expectation of men when women, by their own choice, are pushing very intentionally pushing the laws and the rules and trying to attempt to get as far away from the traditional family structure and traditional relationship structure as humanly possible. And yet they still expect men to uphold their end of the traditional bargain, which is crazy. Like, she still expects that simply off of being a woman. That doesn't fly in 2024. But I'm gonna let this continue.
What you're saying, if such a thing is true, and you have this type of entitlement, this would give you feminine privilege, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think men do have it worse.
Yeah, so
I love
if that's
being a
the
woman.
case, shouldn't men get additional privileges that perhaps women don't get?
What privilege are you thinking of?
Well, I don't know.
What's an idea of that privilege?
The expectation is that they die on behalf of women just because of the ontology of women being women.
Well, they do that. They go to war and they do that.
No, I understand, but we're not talking about what they do. We're talking about what they should do. And you're saying they should do it just via the nature of you being a woman. Okay, fair enough. I can grant that that's true. But if it is true, then shouldn't they get some kind of additional privileges on top of that? Shouldn't they be kind of heralded in society?
I do think that.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the problem, is that we're not looking up to men. We're not respecting men. We're not.
You can show it. Keep going. Don't worry.
I think that is part of the problem, and it's like a cause and effect type thing where women are being devalued because men are not being valued like they should be.
I also
Honestly, that is I believe, one of the few times a girl makes a good point in this video. Okay? The reason why this conversation is even happening, because I've heard this topic brought up in like other conversations before the whatever podcast. I've heard men talking about, I wouldn't want to go to war and die for these modern hoes out here. The reason why this conversation is taking place is because of two reasons. Number one, the first reason is that men, with the rise of the red pill and things like MGTOW, are starting to reassess their own value as a man and starting to value themselves more, starting to value their lives. Men are pushing back against the narrative that men are expendable. Men are starting to value themselves, which is, in my opinion, about damn time. Okay, men have been incredibly devaluing themselves in relationships, accepting less, and accepting this position in society that we are expendable and that we don't matter. And men are outright rejecting that notion, which is great. I love seeing it. The second thing that's taken place as to why we're even having this discussion in society is because men are starting to reassess, reevaluate the value of women. Okay? The reason for this is that society has changed. Women have changed. The value of the average woman has changed. And so women are no longer have virtue. They no longer have a sense of purity, values, integrity, morality. That has all gone downhill. However, women still expect men to assess their value as if they're operating with the morality and values of women from the 1920s, which is no longer the case. The average girl out here, let's just be honest, is a hoe, okay? If we are to assess their values with the way they sleep around, with how they showcase themselves on social media, literally out there half naked, scantily clad photos and videos, perhaps doing sex work like some of the ladies on the table. But they expect men to assess their value as if they are traditional women. And men are saying, no, that's ridiculous. So because men are assessing their own value and seeing it as higher, which is good, and they're assessing women's value and seeing it as, your value has actually dropped as time has progressed. So they're seeing women's value as lower. Men are starting to sit back and say, is my life worth the average hoe? Is the average hoe worthy of my life? No. That is my stance. I've been on this before this even topic has gotten as big as it has. Bro, I've already been on that time. I've assessed the modern woman and I assess the worth of my life. And no, the average hoe is not worthy of me dying for. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I don't think a man should be so readily ready to sacrifice his life for the average woman. Literally, imagine you go out there, right? And something goes down and you decide to be big Superman and, let's say there's a shooter. And you decide that, you know what, I'm going to be Superman. I'm going to go protect these women. Do the chivalrous thing. Bro, you have no idea that girl could be one of the chicks that think that men ain't shit, that think men are useless. Remember that video from the college campus where they went around and asked women, do we need men? And how majority of them said no?
Do we need men? Do we need men?
No.
Do we need men?
No.
No?
We don't need short men.
Do you need a man?
No.
Do you need a man?
Oh, God.
Do you need a man?
No.
Do we need men?
No.
Why?
No.
Do we need men?
No.
No? Do we need men?
We need men to make us stupid.
Do we need men? Do we need men? Do women need men in this world? Do we need men?
No.
Why?
Because we can be strong, independent women.
Do we need men?
Like, not necessarily, but like, if I can look at them, like, we need a man to look at.
Do we need men?
No!
No, why?
Nobody needs men!
Really?
We do not need men!
Why not? Why don't we need men?
Why would I need men?
So what can you get from someone else that you don't get from a man?
The only thing I can get from a man that I can't get anywhere else is dick.
Okay.
And I don't need dick.
She could be one of those chicks, and you just sacrificed your life for her. You're dead, and you could literally probably go on her TikTok and find a video of those women talking about how men ain't shit, men are trash, we don't need men. What do we need men for in society? Nothing. They're useless. And I'm supposed to sacrifice my life for that? No. I'll say it and I'll say it again. The age of men foregoing their security for the sake of women is over. There's a very small portion of women who are actually worthy of that treatment. But I'm going to let the video keep going.
This is actually one of the arguments I make. Even in the scenario, let's say we have two kids together. If we look to men to be providers and protectors, well then, if we're looking at this from this new angle of what's best for the children then, I think, and we know the outcomes of comparing single father households as compared to single mother households. Children raised in single father households tend to fare far better than the reverse. There's actually a very compelling argument to be made that actually it's better if the father survives in these circumstances.
But if his role is to be a protector, wouldn't he have already failed at that role and therefore not be a suitable protector for the children?
Well, you could.
That's a good point.
I mean, you're making some assumptions there. I mean, who's to say that he would fail at protecting the children?
I don't think
moving
necessarily.
forward?
I get what you mean, but I feel like if the father, which I do feel in most, not all cases, are usually more of the provider for the family in general, that they're going to be able to continue still providing for their children, whereas let's say it was a stay-at-home mom. Now what?
Well,
I mean, we
wait
can
a
do
second,
let's
though,
say all day,
to provide
like,
to provide a little pushback on the other end of the table to the question which is asked of Brian is, and forgive me, I'll steal man the position. You can tell me if I got this question wrong, but you asked, wouldn't the man already have failed in his position as a protector if this happens? But that's actually a straw man to Brian's position. because Brian already laid down that men have no obligation to protect women. He said that he would lay down his life maybe for his children. So it actually logically follows what he's saying when he says, no, I'm not going to lay down my life for a woman. So how would he fail at his job as a protector when
So-
he doesn't believe that that's his obligation?
You believe your role as a father is to be a provider and a protector, but not as to your wife?
Not to the
hold on.
mother of your
no,
children?
there's two different things here. I think you can absolutely still be a protector, but if there's some scenario where the calculus is, well, if my role as protector it's not even necessarily the role as protector. Like, you could still protect her with the hoped or anticipated outcome that you both still survive. But in some scenario where one of you has to die, I don't think it has anything really to do with protection necessarily if she's the one who has to die.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also on a case-to-case basis, because there are a lot of situations where the man is more financially, makes more money.
That's
but
most
then
cases.
There's also the opposite. So if you want to really sit down and talk to your partner about that, that's maybe one thing. But
Well, men are typically the breadwinner, typically. Not always, though. Certainly there are women who are breadwinners too, but
yeah, well, like I said, it's a case-to-case basis, because, like, for
Most
example, my
cases,
dad
men
made
are
more
the
money,
breadwinner.
but I would have been way better off just being raised by my mom, because money wasn't as important as, like,
were you raised by your father?
I was raised by, my parents are divorced, but I was mostly raised by my mom. But my dad would not have been able to emotionally.
I'm not saying that
So there's
though he
more
made more
important-
money.
There's
He
more
made more
important
money.
things.
You're
than just
taking
money.
love out of the equation.
are fathers incapable of loving their children?
No, it's just your argument doesn't take love into account. It
How
just
so?
talks about how you're the provider and the protector for the children first and foremost. How
Well, I'm just
how
speaking
the
in
outcome
generalities here.
how the outcome would be, if you needed to provide for the children. And I think, like, you're taking providing and looking at that as like monetarily is
Do you think
equal
fathers-
to love, basically. But
you
it's
think
not.
Well, that sounds like you're making an argument that the man is far more disposable than the woman.
No, I'm saying that it's a case-to-case basis, because money is not the most important thing in a child's life.
Sure. So if it's a case-by-case basis, then Brian would be right in saying that he should not immediately move towards the self-sacrifice, because in his particular case especially, it may be the case that that would not be in the best interest of the children who he would make the sacrifice for, right?
I'm not saying he's wrong for feeling that way about himself. Like, that's
About
his
not
position.
being willing to take the bullet?
Yeah, you.
They are absolutely saying he's wrong. You can look on their faces and see just how uncomfortable it is for a man to not be so quick to do that. Like this, you can tell women have it's just a thing in their head, just a blanket expectation across the board that regardless of the situation, man should protect. That's it. They never had to question whether or not he should, ever. And the fact that there's actually compelling arguments as to why he shouldn't, you could tell it makes them very uncomfortable, because it makes them question like where they stand. It makes them question their safety, which is, it's amazing. It's honestly very interesting to watch them like in this very uncomfortable position.
Have that.
I think we can all agree that you all think I'm entitled to have that position, but I think you all object to the position.
Oh, they absolutely do.
No.
Come on, you guys all object.
Not taking the bullet?
Yeah.
Of what?
Yeah,
As a
I-
man,
I-
There's been a lot of subtle objection, whether you see it or
I
not.
object.
The pushback to Brian has definitely been seemingly. Now this is seeming, so this would be inductive logic, not deductive, for those of you on that side of the table. But it does seem like you are pushing back on his worldview here a little bit. So I think that's fine, right? That's what the show is for.
Yeah,
But I mean, I'd like to hear it.
I object to that worldview.
That I wouldn't be willing to sacrifice my life for.
Yeah, I think that there's probably not the right value maybe that you're gonna put on your marriage.
That's fine. One last thing on this. We will get to the bear versus man thing as soon as we get past this. Do you think, because one of the criticisms I receive when I bring up this argument quite a bit, sometimes from the panel, but oftentimes from the chat, they're like, Brian, you're a beta male for not being willing to sacrifice your life
That is so rude.
for your woman. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I disagree with
Look
that.
what he's done, people.
Do you guys think it's less? And again, I don't like the beta alpha thing. I don't care. I don't use that kind of language really, but just for simplicity's sake, do you think that it would be so-called less alpha to be unwilling to die for your wife or girlfriend? Would it be a beta male?
Yeah.
Starting with you.
It's hard to say because like alpha is so like animal kingdom, and animal kingdom's all about survival.
We are.
Well, and actually,
So if you want to survive as an alpha male, then you would not want to take the bullet, and that's.
It is kind of a good point.
Well, that's kind of a little bit
But not
my argument
because
here.
lions, that's what the male lion is for, is to like defend the girls.
No, the female lions.
they-
Actually,
they
yeah,
hunt.
isn't
The
it the-
females hunt.
lead the
the
pack.
females hunt. But it's when another male lion comes
Okay,
in
no,
that the
she
other
is
right.
male
She
lion
is right.
goes
Well,
in
and
Yeah.
actually,
kills it.
just one thing on the whole alpha beta thing. This originated in like someone who did a study on wolves, but it actually was totally debunked. There's more nuance to this whole the categorization in wolf packs, for example, than an alpha.
Yeah, it's not so easily broken down into just
Yeah.
alpha and
Yeah.
betas. So,
But it is somewhat helpful
parties.
a little bit. But
Omegas.
so do you think it's beta or less alpha to
Totally
not want to
delta.
take a bullet for your girl? Quick answers if you can.
She does.
no.
Just call
She
me a
does.
Beta Brian. Just do it. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Okay, yeah, I do think
It
it's
is?
a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beta Brian.
Beta Brian.
I kind of see your point, just because if
What
you're
point?
an alpha, then you might have like more to lose per se. You've accomplished more in your life. Like you have this podcast, you're successful.
I'm not
versus-
calling myself, just to be clear, not calling
Yeah.
myself an alpha
I'm
male.
just saying, like, I could see your point of view on that. I'm not saying I agree or disagree, but,
But one
like,
could argue because he's done all that, he's already accomplished it. So
that's true. That is true.
Your thought?
Beta.
Huh?
Beta.
Beta.
I honestly wouldn't say either or.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
How? I
not my
just don't
preference, but I don't think you're a
understand
beta
that. I
for
don't
having that
understand
decision.
that.
So, because this occurred to me, right? Like, because a lot of people in the chat, and maybe it's not your position that this would make somebody less alpha or beta, but like, let's think of some conquerors throughout history. You guys know Genghis Khan?
No.
Okay, Genghis Khan, he was like in the.
Before he goes on, I just want to point out that another reason as to why men are starting to reassess the value of women is because women don't respect men anymore when it comes to relationships, right? That woman you're in a relationship with who doesn't think that she has to adhere to your authority. Like if you tell her, hey, she's going out the house dressed a certain way, and you say, hey, you're showing a little bit too much ass, a little bit too much tits, you need to go back in and change that. That woman believes that she has the right to tell you, no, you can't tell me how to dress, and go out however she wants to. That same woman thinks she has the right to tell you, no, you can't tell me where to go. If you deem that place I'm going as unsafe, or you don't want me hanging around a certain group of people, right? You don't have the right to tell me that I can't go there, right? But that same woman will still expect that man, if she ends up in a dangerous situation, to come running and flying to her rescue like Superman, and be willing to sacrifice his life, put his life on the line to protect her, even though her rebellion is what put her in that dangerous situation in the first place. She holds the right to be rebellious and not listen to you, not adhere to your authority, but she still expects you to put your life on the line for her. Men, you need to value yourselves, value your life. And here's how I see it. Here's my take on the situation, right? If you're with a woman and she wants to play this pick and choose game where she gets to adhere to a little bit of feminism and a little bit of liberalism, and then also pick and choose what parts of traditionalism that she wants to abide by, the parts that benefit her. She gets to pick and choose based on the day. Maybe today I'll be a lady and be traditional, and then tomorrow I'll do a little bit of the feminism thing. If she wants to do the pick and choose thing, cool. If she wants to do that, if she wants to adhere to that kind of relationship dynamic, then you have every right to adhere to that relationship dynamic as well. However, if she is going to be a traditional woman, and through, where there is no picking and choosing, she does her role, you do your role, under those circumstances, then I say, okay, you protect your girl and you sacrifice for her. Here's how I see it. Either we're picking and choosing, or we're going to play our roles all the time. Now, because here's the thing, women cannot get mad. Ladies, you can't get mad if you're adhering to the picking and choosing way of doing things. I could get to do this, but I don't have to listen to that. Then you can't get mad if the man does it as well. Because women are all about equality, right? So if you get to pick and choose when and where and what you want to do in terms of being traditional or being more liberal, then the man also gets to choose. And maybe when that car turns the corner a little bit too fast, or that building's on fire, or that shooter takes out his gun, or the boat starts taking on water, if he decides in that moment that, today maybe I'm okay with being the provider, but I think I'm going to forego my protector responsibilities today, you can't get mad at him for making that judgment call. You know why? Because you get to pick and choose when you want to adhere to certain things and not adhere to certain things. And by the laws of equality and feminism, he has the same right as you. So if he decides that, you know what, that car's swerving the corner a little bit too fast and I don't know where it's going to veer off to, if he decides that you're going to get hit, you can't fault him for that logic. Because women have decided that we're in the pick and choose kind of relationship dynamic. Men overwhelmingly want to adhere to their strict gender roles and have women adhere to their strict gender roles. But women want it fluid. Women want to pick and choose. So you can't get mad if he decides, you know what, you're going to take the bullet today. He can decide it on a whim, just like you can pick and choose when and where and if you want to do something or not. When it comes to being traditional in a relationship, he has every right to. And honestly, I saw a clip in this video where Andrew Wilson breaks down why men no longer feel it is their responsibility to sacrifice their lives for women. And he was essentially saying women do not adhere to male authority anymore. They don't respect men as the leaders. So why should a man sacrifice his life to a woman who isn't even going to adhere to his authority? I'm going to show the clip right now.
So that's
if I may, I know the verse that I quoted earlier about the husband's role in the marriage. The women's role, I think it's important to talk about as well, because it says the husbands must love their wives, but women respect your husbands. And so that's like
that's not what it says. It says that you need to submit to your husband.
Yeah, it says respect and
that's
submit.
not respect. That submission is different. That's an overage, right? There's more to it than just respecting. Submission does not just mean respect. That means submission, and that's something which is absent in society, and that's why guys like Brian refuse to take a bullet for women, because they refuse to submit to patriarchal authority. And if they did, he would be far more inclined to do so. That's why, by the way, he would do it for his children. He would do it for his children because they see him as an authority, a patriarchal authority in the household, and so he knows that that's his greater duty. But why would he have a greater duty to women who don't submit?
That was beautiful.
I agree.
That was well put.
I completely agree. And you're right, it does say that.
And that's exactly what I mean. Women do not respect men. They want to abide by non-traditional relationship standards and structures. However, they still expect traditional. They still expect men to adhere to their traditional roles, despite them not adhering to theirs. And men are saying no, or in the very least, they're questioning this, which I think is good. I think it's very good for men to reassess the situation, because if women are not going to bring what they've used to bring to a relationship, then men need to reassess what they bring, because this unfair exchange of value in relationships is no longer going to stand. Men are wising up, and we're starting to value ourselves And this is why these conversations are being had. But that's all for today, guys. If you got value from the video, please go ahead and leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And let me know what you think in the comments. Are modern women worth dying for? Okay? I personally don't think so. However, if you have a girl that you think is worth dying for, let me know in the comments. Let me know how that is going for you. Let me know what your thoughts are. And until next time, guys, take it easy.